What's going on, everyone? Your mom's favorite YouTuber, KKS here, and welcome back to another video. This video is going to be part 3 of my 2021 NFL mock draft. If you haven't watched the previous 2 episodes, make sure to watch those first. Before you watch these picks, there'll probably be some spoilers. So go watch those, and when you're done, welcome. Um, so you probably know the drill if you've watched those videos. I've got at the top, we've got the pick number, the team making the pick, and the player that they take and what position they play. And at the bottom right, I've got where that player ranks on my big board. This episode's going to be pick 17 through 24, I believe. So yeah, let's get started. First up, the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders, ever since they got Mayock, have, I guess, saying reached. They've reached on their picks. That's an understatement. I mean, the first year Mayock was there, they had the fourth overall pick. They took Cleveland Farrell. He was a mid to late round, first round projected pick. And then last year they took, who did they take? Damon Arnett. I think he had a third round grade. Um, and or no, they took Ruggs and Arnett. I think I don't remember, but um, they reach on their picks. They just take whoever the hell they think is best, and they don't care about projections or where they're projected to land. Be taken. So, with the first pick, I think they take Tevin Jenkins, offensive tackle out of Oklahoma State. I mean, he's number 42 on my big board. I have him as a second round pick, projected. But I think he'd be a good fit on this Raiders team, and I think they'd like him. They like the kind of player he is. He's a very strong tackle, one of the best run blockers, if not the best run blocker in the draft. And with the new signing of Kenyon Drake and Josh Jacobs going into, I believe, his third year, they're going to need as much help as they can get to get that run game going and give Derek Carr, easier opportunities at quarterback. I mean, even though he's mainly known as a run blocker, he's still a great pass blocker as well. Um, he allowed, I think, like 10 or 11 pressures out of over 600 quarterback dropbacks. So he can protect the quarterback well enough. And now the worries about his game are that, I mean, he wasn't really tested in the Big 12, so 11 pressures out of 600 dropbacks is like pretty good, but it's nothing out of the ordinary against the Big 12 competition. Um, I mean, knowing that they don't really specialize in defense. Yeah. And then the big problem and the reason why I think he's a second round pick is because he has pretty short arms for a tackle. That makes it really difficult to block edge rushers with long wingspans, long reach, and that could be a problem when it comes to the league. But that's why a lot of people think he can move to guard. Um, and I think the Raiders they can use him anywhere. They need a tackle, they need a right tackle, they need a right guard, they need a center as well. Um, so I could see them drafting Creed Humphrey as well from Oklahoma, but I think it's going to be Tevin Jenkins. I mean, the Raiders honestly is probably like the toughest team to project because they're just going to draft whoever the hell they want. And without, like, even if they have a sixth round grade by most scouts, they'll take him if they think he's the best player on the board. So it could really be anyone. So moving on. Next, we've got the Miami Dolphins' second pick in this draft with the first pick. If you haven't watched the first video, I had them taking Devontae Smith, teaming up with his former college quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa. And this time, I think they take more offense. I think they go Elijah Vera Tucker. Um, Now, I believe he played tackle mostly in college, but a lot of teams consider him a guard coming into the draft, and I think he's going to be best at guard. So I've got him as a guard, and I think Miami has a need for an interior offensive lineman. It might not be their biggest need, but I think it's probably their most important need. biggest need and important need are two different things. They got to give Tua every chance they have to succeed, even if they have a big need on defense. Giving Tua the best opportunity to make a big step forward in his second year is the main goal, and I think they go offense on both picks. If they go with Sewell at pick number 6, then I think they go wide receiver on pick 18 with, I don't know, Rashad Bateman, Rondale Moore, Harris Marshall, etc. But I have them taking Devontae Smith, and here I think they take Elijah Vera Tucker. I have him as my number 24 ranked prospect, a little lower than most people. The reason for that is just uncertainty about like if he can take his game to the next level, what position he's gonna play, and everything. But looking at the good things about Elijah Vera Tucker is that he's a strong lineman, but not only is he strong, but he's also an aggressive lineman. He looks for contact. He loves that kind of stuff. And he's solid in both pass protection and run blocking. He's not, I wouldn't say he's overwhelmingly better at one or the other. And I don't think he's like fantastic at either one, but I think he's solid and he's definitely showing potential about how good he can be in both pass protection and run blocking. And the only real concern I have is just mental processing as a lineman, especially the fact that he might be playing, I don't know, a different position than he's used to. It's going to be difficult his rookie year, and um, I don't know. He in college there were often times where he's aggressive, but sometimes he's a little too aggressive. He overshoots guys at the second level, takes poor angles. So he's I love the fact that he's aggressive and everything. But I want him to have like controlled aggression and also be a bit smarter and not just rely on pure strength. Football, athleticism and strength and everything is great and all, but if you're not smart about what you're doing, you're not going to make it anywhere in the league. And I'm not saying he's not a smart player at all. I just think that's an area where he can improve in. So I like him, but he's got a bit of work to do. And I think he'll be a good fit in Miami, though. I think they took Austin Jackson, who also played at USC, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but I think he played at USC. And so I think they could have a really good line there. Next up, Washington football team. I'm really excited if this is the pick. Jeremiah Owusu Koromoa, or Jock, Jok. I really like this guy. The football team do need a quarterback. Um, I don't think it's as big of a need as some other teams, like the Bears, for example, who actually have the next pick. But at this point, with Lance and Mack and Fields, Lawrence, Wilson gone, um, I don't think they need to reach for like a Kyle Trask, Davis Mills, who's the other guy, Kellen Mond or anything. They could take one of those guys in the second round if they really feel like it. But I like Heineke. I want to give him. I would want to give him a chance if I were the football team. Even if you get a rookie quarterback, you're not going to be contending this year. You might make the playoffs, but I just in that I don't see them um, being Super Bowl contenders, which is ultimately the main goal. Um, you don't want to be just making the playoffs every year with no chance at a Super Bowl. You'd rather, take the slow process if it means you have a better chance at winning the ultimate prize. And Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah does that. I really like him. They could also take a receiver. They've got McLaurin and Curtis Samuel, but I see Samuel as more of a slot guy. There are a lot of receivers available, but I think drafting Jock is the best move. Um, I really love him. There are a few people who think he's the best linebacker in this draft, and it's hard to argue against that. But I think Micah Parsons just has way too much potential, and I think he's like the number one prospect. But I think Jock is the more safer pick, and he also comes at a much cheaper price. If you haven't watched the first video, spoiler alert, I had Micah Parsons drafted in the top 5, and here Jock is being drafted in the top 20. And in all honesty, I like Jock more than Parsons, but as I said, Parsons has more potential. As for Jock, a good player comparison is Fred Warner. Fred Warner when he was coming out of college, I mean, not right now. Both are very fast for linebackers, and both were very good in coverage. Um, and also, coming out of the draft, they were both a little small for a linebacker. Jock is a linebacker in a safety's body, which is worrisome for few people. But I mean, we've seen plenty of guys smaller than him coming out of the draft and bulking up and ending up succeeding at one point in their career. Shaq Thompson is a great example of that. But I mean, Jock is a very smart player. He can do anything you want on the that you would want a linebacker to do. He can rush the quarterback, stay back in coverage, stop the run, anything you want. Um, as I said, the only negative thing I have is he's a bit inconsistent when tackling. He's a bit undersized. But I mean, the problem with his tackling, it's not that he can't tackle, but it's more of like a mental technique thing. Which I'm sure if he's drafting by the football team, he will definitely improve on under Ron Rivera and Jack Del Rio. Those guys are great coaches, and I think Jock will flourish under them and become like he has the potential to reach Fred Warner, Darius Leonard level. So I wouldn't put that past him. Jock is a great player. Keep that in mind. Next up, pick number 20, the Chicago Bears. A lot of people think they could draft, like, if Lance and Mac are taken, a lot of people think they could draft a Kellen Mond, Davis Mills, Kyle Trask. But I just don't see it. I don't think they're that dumb. I think they take Christian Darrisaw, which is actually an excellent pick. Um, excuse me. As you can see, I have him ranked as my number 14th player. I actually have him ranked ahead of Rashawn Slater. I really like Christian Darrisaw. If the Bears don't trade up for a quarterback, then their next biggest need would ultimately be offensive line. If they really are telling the truth that they believe in Andy Dalton, then they need to go all in on that belief and protect him. Or get him a weapon. They could draft a receiver. Although I don't see that as a big need. They've got Allen Robinson. Although his future in Chicago is kind of iffy, they could take a receiver, but I wouldn't. I, I'd rather try to give them the best chance of succeeding right now and persuade Allen Robinson to stay rather than try to replace him. They've also got Mooney as well, so I think offensive line's a bigger need. And Darisaw is too good to pass up at this point. He's very strong, great size, long arms. I think he's the best pass blocker in this draft. He didn't allow a single sack or quarterback hit the whole season. He does everything you want an offensive tackle to do. And even though a lot of people have Slater ranked higher, I think Darisaw is better. And even though I have Slater going first, I like Darisaw more. Um, the only problem with Darisaw is that, much like Elijah Vera Tucker, he struggles to block at the second level. Again, both mental mistakes and just poor hand placement. He treats backers and DBs like they're still linemen, even though we know that they're very different types of players, different sizes, and he's gotta learn to adjust to block those kinds of guys. Um, but yeah, I really like Darisaw. I think he could be a great player. Next up, the Indianapolis Colts, another team that needs an offensive lineman. They have a new quarterback in Carson Wentz. I find it hard to believe that they're going to throw him out there without giving him a new left tackle. I thought that they would be the ones to trade for Orlando Brown, but he just got traded to Kansas City a few days ago. And it looks like they'll ultimately be taking a rookie, unless they, I don't know, find somebody on the market. I know Mitchell Schwartz is available. They feel comfortable playing him at left tackle. I don't know. But they don't trade up, they don't trade down. I think they ultimately take an offensive tackle. The question here is which one will they take? Um, there's a lot of good linemen available. This is a very deep lineman class, I believe. They've got Walker Little, Dylan Radens, player from North Dakota State who I really like. Who else? Alex Leatherwood, among others. But I don't think they take either of those guys. I think they take Liam Eichenberg. They took a Notre Dame offensive lineman a few years ago, and look how that turned out for them. If you don't know, that player is Quentin Nelson, who I think is the best offensive lineman in the league by far. Now, I don't love Eichenberg, but I think he's the best player on the board who has played left tackle. Um, Jalen Mayfield, I believe, could be picked and moved from right to left tackle, and I have a higher grade on him, but I don't think he'll be as good of a player as Eichenberg if he's moved to left tackle. I prefer him much more as a right tackle. I think Eichenberg is a much better left tackle. So watching Eichenberg, he was a 3 year starter at Notre Dame at left tackle, and each year he showed great improvement. He hasn't allowed a sack since week 5 of 2018, which is insane. That's what, like 2.5 seasons. He's got very good technique, exactly what you expect out of a Notre Dame lineman, especially one who's played um, and learned from guys like Ronnie Stanley, Quentin Nelson, and Mike McGlinchey. Um, I mean, the concerns about him is that he's not nearly athletic as any of those three guys I mentioned who played before him, and other tackles in this class like Slater and Barrymore, which is the main concern, and also the fact that he has short arms for a tackle. So I mean, if he doesn't get taken by Indianapolis, he could be taken by another team who moves him to guard, and um, he could be an elite guard in this league. But I actually like Eichenberg. Those two negatives, though, are like two things that are not easy to change. I mean, his arm length isn't just gonna change out of nowhere, and athleticism will take a lot of work to improve. But I really like him technique wise. I think he's the safest lineman in this draft, still available at least. And I think he'd be a reliable option for the Colts at left tackle. And then next, a division rival to the Colts, the Tennessee Titans. They have a few needs, very few needs though, um, but no need bigger than wide receiver two. And they have their options at this point. I have Rashad Bateman, Rondale Moore, Kadarius Toney, Terrace Marshall Jr. But I think they don't take either of those guys, and they take Elijah Moore to form an Ole Miss wide receiver duo down in Nashville. I don't have Elijah Moore as a top 5 wide receiver. So for Tennessee to take him as the fourth wide receiver off the board is interesting, but I wouldn't blame them. Um, he's not built like AJ Brown or DK Metcalf whatsoever, two former Ole Miss wide receivers, but he has the same toughness those guys have. Ole Miss wide receivers are tough. He's got great hands, arguably better hands than AJ Brown or DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf for sure, AJ Brown debatable. And I think Elijah Moore will be a very reliable slot guy in the league. Also, very smart player, very smart. The few problems with him, he's below average size for a slot receiver. He doesn't have a great catch radius. He's not an elusive slot receiver, so he's just going to be a reliable receiver who won't drop the ball. He'll make the catches in traffic. He has that toughness. He'll block for you, and I really like him. I just don't have him as a top 5 receiver. I like other receivers more, but I think the Tennessee Titans will like him. He'll be a good fit there. And yeah, he'll be playing with AJ Brown with that for that Ole Miss wide receiver duo. Next, pick number 23, the New York Jets. I could see them trading down. They already got their quarterback of the future in Zach Wilson. They could stay put and take the first running back off the board, like Travis Etienne or Najee Harris. But I think with their new defensive coach and Robert Saleh, their second pick of the draft will, be a guy that he really likes on the defensive side of the ball. And I think Xavin Collins is a Robert Saleh kind of guy. He's large for a linebacker, but still fast for a linebacker as well. He has the versatility to play at any linebacker spot in any system. He could play an outside linebacker in a 3-4. He could play middle linebacker. And honestly, I don't see any holes in his game. I don't see a negative trait in him. But the reason why he's not very high is because he also doesn't have any fantastic traits. I think he's just a very solid player. I think he's one of the safest prospects in this class. Um, I just don't see a lot of potential, even though I'm sure he could be a great player, and he hasn't showcased everything that he has to offer in college. But I think he'd be a good fit in New York. They need solid players rather than a high risk, high reward kind of player. Just take the low risk guy, build up that defense, and then work on taking risks and getting better players. Then the last pick for this video, Pittsburgh Steelers at number 24. A lot of people have them taking running back. The best running backs available Travis Etienne and Najee Harris. And depending on who you ask, they'll give you different answers. Some people say Etienne's better. Some people think Najee Harris is better. And I honestly have no idea who the Steelers think is better. I mean, it's a pretty safe bet that they take running back, improve that offense, give Big Ben another option, um, and also their future quarterback. Um, when they find out who that is, a good player to work with. Um, and ultimately, I think, I'll just go with who I like more. I like Najee Harris more. Um, as I said, I'm not sure who they like more, so it could be ETN. But I think Najee Harris is one of, if not the most underrated player in this draft. The reason is probably because there are a lot more notable players from Bama. The two receivers, Mac Jones. Yeah, Najee's like the fourth guy that people are paying attention to. I had the pleasure of watching Najee Harris a couple times in high school. The most notable game being when he played against De La Salle, and boy, he was fun to watch. He obviously didn't tear them up or anything, but I could see the potential in him. I'm pretty sure he was the number one prospect in his high school class, and he originally committed to Michigan, I believe, and then decommitted and committed to Alabama. And he's showed flashes ever since his freshman year. Um, I think he's a complete back. Um, he has speed, strength, agility, elusiveness. The only thing that he really lacks is blocking ability. Um, but he has the strength, so it's just a technique thing. And I believe Pittsburgh will get him right. I believe Pittsburgh will be able to fix that, will be able to protect Ben Roethlisberger. And yeah, I did say I like he's a complete back and with elusiveness. Although that area he could improve. He's a bit stiff at times, but again, I think just work on improving technique, and he'll be a great running back in this league. And I think he's the best running back in this class, and I think he'll be a top 10 running back in the league in the future. Um, that's it. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, please leave a like. If any of your teams picked a player you like or don't like, let me know in the comments. And yeah, thank you all for watching. Next video is going to be rounding out the draft, picks 25 through 32, and I'll be revealing my big board and show ultimately where everyone ended up. So thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you all next time.